The best way to get people to watch your videos is to have compelling titles that will make them want to watch your videos. Now, I know this could be a struggle for a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm going to give you some tips in this video to show you how you can come up with better titles. Now, I've looked at many of your guys' channels and I've looked at, videos that people send me. And one of the first things that come to mind is like, this would be a little bit better if only it had a more intriguing title. And there's really simple ways to get these better titles. First thing I'm going to do is walk you through some of the common frameworks that I use. Now, I cheated. I took marketing in school, so I know some of these, but most of these you can find out on the net. You can search further through them, get further information, or do what I showed you yesterday in the video, which I'll put over here, and you can just ask your favorite chatbot. Yeah, it turns out it actually knows how to do this stuff very, very well. So this is something that I went over with in my gold group the other day in my class, and we did work on some examples. So a lot of this will be rehashed. To those of you who came to class, if you didn't, well, just listen. And if you were in class, pay attention anyway, because you might get some good stuff out of this. One of my favorite ones, and the reason why I'm going to go ahead and give you this value first, is this is probably the one I use the most, and that is known as the curiosity gap framework. The curiosity gap works on working on people's nosy bug. Okay. All humans by desire are super, super curious. We also have a desire to resolve uncertainty. Like, we do not like open loops. I know I don't. Like, it's one of the most mind-boggling things to me. So using the curiosity gap or curiosity triggering is one of the best ways to get someone to watch videos. So here's an example. Let's say you want to make a video about how to make videos. How to make videos is a really dumb title. Now, that short how to make videos might be dope in a thumbnail, but again, rule number one, never put your title in your thumbnail. I see this rule broken on a regular basis. Please make it stop. Okay, so here's an example. Instead of how to make videos, what if we went for the 3-step formula most creators miss, but top channels use dailies, right? Or instead of my weight loss journey, what if we went with the unusual morning habit that helped me lose 30 pounds. I'm like, how you lose 30 pounds? Holla at your mans. Let me know, right? So the curiosity gap goes a long way to helping you get more eyes just because folks is nosy. You all know somebody like that. If you don't, it's you. The next one on the list would be the benefit-driven framework. Now, this one is something that if anybody who's ever been in sales, you've learned this in sales training, you just might have forgot. It always says, give out the benefits and not the features. This is a huge curse on YouTube because so many people, especially when it comes to gear reviews, talk about feature, and so many people have no idea what those features mean. When the people are talking about the microphone and it's like, this microphone comes with 32-bit float, no one knows what that is. But if you explain that 32-bit float allows you to be in a situation where you're so noisy that it would make that weird sound in your audio, with 32-bit float, you can recover that because you have more headspace to record. That's a better, use of that. So an example is, the bad example is, oh, here's my morning routine. A better example would be my morning routine that doubled my productivity in 7 days. I'd probably watch that second one. Guitar practice tips. Get your chords down. No. Learn any song in half the time. This 20-minute guitar method, that is a benefit triggering situation. Like, I could do 20 minutes a day guitar practice. I don't know if I'm going to have a hard time learning how to play, say, Bohemian Rhapsody. Actually, what's a good guitar song? More Than Words. That's a good guitar song. All right, next on my list is the problem solution framework. Now, in copywriting, we call this the PAS framework, which is the problem, the agitate, and the solution. In titles, you don't necessarily have that much time. And it would be interesting actually to throw some of these titles, say, at a chatbot and say, give me a problem solution framework title and a problem agitate solution framework title. And yes, while we're doing that, remember, any of these frameworks that I'm listing, you can take some of your older titles, just give it a try. Take 4 or 5 of your videos, take those titles, throw it at ChatGPT and say, give me examples of each of these titles in each of these different frameworks, and it will know what to do. It's just a little tip. Okay, so a problem solution framework identifies a pain point and then promises solution, and it just like automatically just people like, oh, wait, I've been trying to figure it out, right? So You know that, let me tell you about saving 15 minutes on your car insurance by switching to Geico. Yeah, that's kind of one of those, right? So instead of saying tips for growing on YouTube, which is a very common title, you could say stuck at 1,000 subscribers, 5 changes that broke my YouTube, channel out of the box, or broke my YouTube plateau, whatever those kind of, words would be, or something of that nature. Like, give the question, are you stuck at 1,000 subscriber? 5 changes I made that blew my channel up. Those are good, right? Or instead of saying, cooking healthy meals as a statement, turn it into a question. I always say this to my people, Yolanda and I went through this for a while. I was like, yo, always do questions. You see question marks in my thumbnails all the time, right? No time to cook, 15-minute healthy meals for busy person, or busy mom, or busy dad, or busy student, like all of the above. Those things will just work, right? You're triggering people where they are. They always say meet people where they are. Now, this is very common on YouTube, but again, some of the titles are just terrible. And especially some of you guys are doing how-to content, and the how-to framework is dope, but you got to title your stuff in a situation, title your stuff in a manner that lets people feel that their situation will be solved by watching your video. That was a mouthful. Okay, so the how-to framework, as you know, it's simple. It just signals practical, actionable advice that your viewers are going to use, that's going to, if they implement immediately, is going to make their job better, right? Solving problems for people is one of the fastest ways to grow on the internet. So if I was to make a video about camera settings for the Canon PowerShot V1, how to set up your PowerShot V1 for cinematic video. It's PowerShot V1, not B1, right? How to set up your iPhone for cinematic video, or how to set up a camera for cinematic video, even with entry-level gear. Like all of the above, those are phenomenal, right? Those are be great titles. Actually, that's a video I should make. I'm gonna have to take my own example and make a video about that. This is a super corny one, but you see it all the time. How to make money online? No. How to create your first $1,000 a month passive income stream step by step. Adding step by step is right there. Adding things like the easy way, or the fast way, or the pain-free way, or the stress-free way. Adding those little nuances to your title will make you go a heck of a lot farther. This next one is super popular on YouTube, and I kind of hate them, but I will make them. I ain't that dumb, okay? These ones, they drive me nuts, but they're totally worth making because they totally work. And matter of fact, I have a video in the pipeline that would definitely hit this, and that is the listicle, or the number framework, right? So let's say, actually, I just did this. I just did this for my buddy Ken, because Ken was going to Japan. And he was like, give me 10 places I should eat while I'm in Japan. Bingo, right? YouTube SEO tips. Actually, come to think of it, I didn't number them per se. This video is a listicle. This would be like 10 frameworks you could use to get more clicks on your videos, or 10 titling techniques that you could use to get more clicks on your video. So without even realizing it, I'm technically making one of these right now, right? 7 YouTube SEO tactics that will generate 1 million views in 30 days that people are clicking that. let's not, that'll be clickbait, but people would be clicking it, right? Because you can't guarantee they're going to get that. Well, if you did it, then that makes sense. Anyway, home organization ideas would be better stated as 10 genius storage hacks for a small office or a small studio under $50. You see what I mean? These are things that will work, right? That thing that we did on the wall over here with Luis and I printing our own little storage things, like, 3D printing your storage stuff saved me a bunch. Well, after I paid for the printer, that kind of cool stuff, right? The next one on the list, and again, here we go, making a listicle, when I hate listicles, but yet I'm making one. The emotional trigger framework, right? This is big. It sounds weird because we say it as, play on a person's emotions, but the reality is that just works, right? It's why when you see an Apple commercial, in the actual commercial, they don't talk about the stats. Where's my phone? Actually, here's an old phone right here. I was looking for my phone, but it's in my pocket. Here's an iPhone 8, right? When this phone came out, if I remember correctly, actually it was an iPad, there was a commercial where they showed the grandkids, playing quietly on the floor, and they made a slideshow of the passed on grandmother for the grandpa to watch at Christmas. That commercial had the whole country leaking. right? That's one of those things. You always see this in the commercials, especially the drug commercials too. They tend to play on people's emotions in that manner. It's very powerful. It's you also hear all the time: surprise, shock, amazement, engagement, like all of these type of words that would you just have a picture instantly painted, right? So instead of saying, I made the jump to DaVinci Resolve, you would say, I was shocked when switching to this free video editing software outperformed Premiere Pro. You notice I didn't say Final Cut, right? Final Cut's better. Anyway, that would be a prime example, right? Or my experiment intermitting with my experience with intermittent fasting would be better off. I couldn't believe what happened after 30 days of intermittent fasting, right? That's that kind of trigger, something of that nature, right? Next on the list, which I hate listicles, next on the list is the current trend challenge framework. Now, I'm not a complete fan of these, but I am a fan of challenge. I'm not a fan of just chasing the current trend for the current trend's sake. However, sometimes it's worth it because something just happened. So here's a prime example. The new iPhone 17 is going to come out, right? And he was like, I replaced my old iPhone with the new iPhone for a week, and this is my unexpected results, right? Or I replaced my iPhone with the brand new Google Pixel 9, I think, and this is my unexpected result. That's one style, right? Or instead of saying my recent diet results, you can say, I tried the 75 hard challenge. Here's what actually happened, right? Looking at you, Louise, and Stevie, and the people that did 75 hard. Or I tried the 75 hard challenge, and here's why it was easier than I thought. Like, those are the type of situations that would work on that sort of current trend or that challenge. And again, use these sparingly. Don't bank on trends. It used to be something we used to say all the time, trend jack, but you got to make it not corny. I see a lot of trend jacking that is hyper corny. So that one you got to be careful of. Okay. Next on my list would be the story journey framework, right? This promises a compelling narrative with the personal transformation or dramatic elements. This would be like, kind of like Taisha, right? She's probably at a level close enough to be able to say how I lost 60 pounds. And she could take a whole bunch of B-roll from her older videos and just run those together and do a dope voiceover. But instead of just saying how I lost 60 pounds, she can say, I went from XYZ to XYZ. Here was my uncommon path to success, right? I'd use XYZ because I don't know what her numbers are, but just using that as an example, right? She's going to slap me if I went from 200 down to 140 or whatever. Like, I don't know what those numbers are, so I just use XYZ, but that's the example, right? I would actually use the actual numbers in this case because it's a little bit more jarring, right? Here's a great one. Learning a language over 40. Sounds like a good title. How I went from 0 to fluent in Japanese in 90 days. Here's my complete method, right? Or how I went from 0 to, casually fluent in Japanese in 90 days over 40, because everybody swears people over 30 can't learn languages, right? Those are great titles of the story, the journey framework. It's called the hero's journey. It's why I say you don't have to be an expert when you want to do something. You can just say, I bought my first content creation camera. I'm starting here, and each video in that series can be adding upon skills that you learn. I'll pick a white balance first. A white balance is important. But, and just go through your journey that way. That's a great way to handle that. Now, almost done. Let me round out a couple more. The contrast and comparison framework. This one is very good, but I tend to steer away from these personally just because I don't like when people compare, say, iPhone versus Android, or, like this Canon versus that Fuji, or this Canon versus that Sony. I think it's just a little cheap, and it doesn't allow the products to live on their own for what they are. I think people also force comparisons where comparison cannot be made, which is kind of problematic. But if you're not doing gear, or you're not company versus company, maybe there are some really incredible ways that you can make this work. I just tend to try to avoid negativity. So do with this what you will, but it is a very powerful framework. You see verses on YouTube all the time. They do work. Just something I tend to stay away from. However, I would do something like, instead of saying a budget camera versus an expensive camera, I would say, here's a $500 camera versus a $5,000 camera. Can viewers actually tell the difference? As a matter of fact, I made that video where I said, can you tell the difference between this $2,000 Sony and this less than $200 OBSBot? And here's the funny thing, 60% of the people get the answer wrong. So that's a good way to do it, where you're not doing like a direct comparison, like, oh, Sony's trying to jack you. It's not like that. They're built for two different things. But, it just goes to show. And as a matter of fact, Tom just did a video about this today. Tom was talking about how your microphone might be more important than your camera. And the way he positioned that title, I'll link to Tom's video here, was just phenomenal. It made you want to sit there and watch the whole video. So that is what I mean by doing a contrast and comparison framework. You just create an interest, highlighting the difference between two different opinions or approaches or styles or something of that nature, right? So if you were to compare different diet plans, right, you would be like, keto versus the Mediterranean diet. I tried both for 30 days. Here's my results. Don't do that. Just don't. Go see a doctor. Deal with it the right way, especially at our age. But those are just, a good example of something that just popped in my head as I was writing these notes down. Okay. The urgency and timely framework is what we're going to use to round this out. And it would be like some way of creating FOMO, this fear of missing out, this fear of being passed up, suggesting something that's super time sensitive or there's very limited opportunity, right? And so this would be something like the YouTube algorithm just changed, right? And I would be like, YouTube's new algorithm change. Act now or lose 40% of your views, or act now or get caught when everybody else figures this out. That's how you would generate that urgency, right? If like right now the markets are all jacked up, right? You'd be like, why smart investors are buying this particular asset class in 2025? Because, with the markets doing weird stuff, there's probably some opportunities. As a matter of fact, we know that's where the rich people get richer, is they figure out how to work this stuff. So if that was your situation and it's something you talked about in your channel, you would explain why you want to buy this particular investment before this particular time. Don't miss this opportunity. That's another way. So I'm going to run through these again because I know they were fast. And, maybe I'll put this in a place where you can grab them. But the reality of it is you could simply ask your favorite bot. You could ask ChatGPT. You could ask Claude. You could ask Gemini, Perplexity, any one of these guys to be like, what are the effective marketing frameworks for YouTube video titles? That would be it. Or ChatGPT and Gemini are both very good at looking at pictures. Take a screenshot of your channel and tell it, pick apart the bad titles and give me better examples of the titles using any one of the 10 most popular marketing frameworks for video titles. Both of those tricks would work. Prompting is so good now, you don't even have to be super good at prompting. You hear? Like, you could do that chatbot situation I showed you yesterday and like, let me read you 5 of my current YouTube video titles and you tell me how I can make them better. And then I use Juniper. Juniper would just explain it to you. Anyway, let me stop waxing and just go down this list. If you want, I can make deeper videos on how to do that prompting specifically, but trust me, trust your gut. You could just do it. You could just simply ask that particular question. What are some effective marketing frameworks for YouTube video titles, and have it make you a list? And I would definitely tell it to look at a picture of your current channel, or if you have a, on that second page in YouTube Studio where you can see the whole list, just grab that list, take a picture of it, send it. If you have a way to say you kept them in a spreadsheet as you made the videos, looking at weird people like Mary Lou, you could just throw that spreadsheet and be like, fix these, super simple. Anyway, let me go down the list. The curiosity gap framework, the benefit driven framework, the problem solution framework, also the problem agitate solution framework. There is the how to framework, the number framework or listicles, also good. There is the emotional trigger framework. There is the content trend challenge framework, the story journey framework, the content contrast comparison framework, and then the urgency timely framework. And again, if you watch my channel, the number one stunners that I normally do is that curiosity gap. Like, I live in there. That's actually one of the questions I throw at Claude when I'm coming up with titles. I'm like, using the curiosity gap, generate some curiosity gap driven titles for this particular video. That's it. I hope this helps out. Again, I can put this in a document somewhere so that you can go in and grab them. I don't know if the YouTube first comment will allow me to put the whole thing, but I'll figure out a way to save this as a document where you can get it. And then if you have any questions, comments, feedback, drop that down below. If you have a video that you think should be doing better and you think your title is a little suspect, hit me up in the comments and I'll take a look at it and I'll throw you back some titles and you can see if this will work. But family, please, use your AI tools. Use these suckers to help you generate better titles. Like, now it has enough information to know how to generate some decent titles. The one thing it struggles with is keeping those titles, say, under 70 characters, which kind of important, but it's not a break. I mean, if you have to go over, you go over. It won't break anything. It's just that when you look at your videos on a phone, you kind of want it to fit, and if the title's too long, it doesn't fit. But please, for the love of all things holy, stop making your thumbnails and your title the same. So I hope this video helps you out. I know this video will help you out if you take the time to do it. And yes, you can go back and retitle a bunch of your old videos. Take back the last 20 you did and retitle them. If you have less than 20, that means you got less work to do. Now, I don't know who needed to hear this, but if it was you, write it down in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, press the subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. And right about now, the algorithm is going to show you another video they think you should watch. And I agree with you.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.